many things to be proud of in India, but safe roads isn't one of them. In fact, 10% of those that die in road accidents in India, according to the latest figures, come from this country. To change all of that, to totally overhaul the road safety system, Minister Nitin Gadkari has proposed a new Motor Vehicles Act that is now inviting suggestions from all of us. Its proposals include, for the first time, a holistic look at safety requirements from car manufacturers and really stiff hike in fines and a tougher licensing system as well. The question is, will this reduce what one American writer, P.J. O'Rourke, described as a wreck pool and history of mess? So to talk about the new proposed law, we have in studio Sunita Narayan, environmental activist and somebody who has been in a very serious road accident, so she can give us personal perspective of that. Also in studio, we have Anil Shukla, the Joint Commissioner of Police of Traffic Police in the capital, and K.K. Kapila of the International Road Federation. But before we go to them and ask whether this new law will actually make our roads safe, I just want to speak to some people who've really been affected over here. We have here Uma Patwal. Uma, आप बताएंगे लोगों को कि कैसे आपके हस्बैंड मारे गए थे कुछ दिनों पहले रोड एक्सीडेंट में? बताएंगे क्या हुआ था?
Actually, 25th March 2014, my husband का एक ट्रक से एक्सीडेंट हुआ morning after 7 o'clock in the morning. He was injured very badly by a truck, but we complained about it. हमने complaint करी है उनकी, but उस समय इलेक्शन टाइम था. Can I speak in Hindi?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, उस समय इलेक्शन टाइम था तो पुलिस वगैरह काफ़ी बिजी थे, तो उन्होंने कहा after 5 or 10 days बाद आप आना, then we will study about your case. Sorry, about your case. Okay, when we go, जब हम वहाँ गए तो they said that okay चल रहा है सब कुछ, हम देख रहे हैं सब कुछ हो रहा है, हम कर रहे हैं, हम ढूंढ रहे हैं. और after 1 month, 2 months, after 3 months, and they said that after 4 months that we are closing this case because
they've closed it now.
They are closing.
How do you think this new proposed law will help people like her, family members who are fighting for accidents, against accidents and those rash drivers?
I think it's very unfortunate what happened with her, and this is a fact that a lot of hit and run cases take place. In fact, we even could not find the person who hit Miss Sunita also.
You couldn't find at all?
Because it was early morning and he just drove away and there was no witnesses. So, the issue is, as of now there is a motor accident claim tribunal where you have to go, and in police, especially in Delhi police, we have a separate cell for it. So, all papers are given to that tribunal and then adequate compensation is given. But there is no actual accident fund through which this compensation can be met out. Now, with this proposed draft bill, there would be a dedicated fund through which monies will be provided to the accident victims.
Okay, so that's compensation to the victim's family.
Yeah.
And about prosecuting the ones who are there, who caused the accident?
Yeah, as of now, the 304A, which is there in the IPC, is the main section under which even deaths are covered by vehicles. Now, the maximum punishment there is just 2 years. So,
and this one makes it 7 years.
This is one makes it 7 only in case of children. So, I think some more.
And for other people?
For other people, I think we need to rework on it and see that in case there is a quantum of punishment has to be increased, it must be increased.
That's what वही आप चाहेंगी कि जिनको punishment हो, ज़्यादा सख्त punishment हो.
Yeah. आगे कभी ऐसा दोबारा ना हो किसी के साथ.
And actually the figures, if you look at it, they're so serious. Every 4 minutes a death takes place on Indian roads. And some of the states, I mean, Delhi we think is bad, but Tamil Nadu seems to have the highest number. And that's what we are really asking. Our first talking point really is, will this proposed law reduce road accidents? Sunita Narayan, do you think so?
You know, Sunitra, I'm glad that the government has come up with a draft law. I think we were desperately requiring amendments to the Motor Vehicles Act. And I'm glad that the government has extended the ambit of the law not just to vehicles but really road users. But I think, and perhaps it's a draft and which gives us space to ask for more, but I don't think the draft goes as far as we would like it to go. I think, you know, when it comes to accident victims itself, the deterrence, we need to make sure that there is very effective deterrence. If somebody is killed by a motor vehicle, you cannot get away with a bailable offense. You cannot get away with a light sentence. You need to feel that I have to drive responsibly because I have a vehicle.
And the bailable bit is still there. The bailable bit is still there.
It's still there.
And that is where it's really problematic.
It's bailable also, as Mr. Shukla just said. The problem also is that it's only in the case of when it's a death to a child that you have.
That's right.
7 years. So I think making that part of the law more stringent. I mean, we discussed this even when Mr. Munde died, for instance. There was a clear concern there that unless you have a very strong deterrence to make sure that people feel a certain fear when they're driving, it's not going to change.
One of the things that Uma mentioned to me earlier before is that the reason that her husband's case is being closed is because there was no evidence. There was no CCTV evidence. Do you think that this law, does it address that problem?
Yeah, I think there is adequate provisions which have been made as per the draft which I have gone through, that there would be a infusion of latest technologies which include CCTV cameras, especially in the urban sphere, on the national highways. So one has to see that, you know, unless we put in the technology in place.
But isn't that always talked about, whether it is, you know, traffic violations or its security?
I think it is going to cover the entire gamut of public transport, private transport, traffic violations. So this will eventually come over a period of time. But, you know, the beginning has to be made, I think, and the draft is the first step towards this.
And a lot of these people here want to talk about their personal experiences with accidents. You wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm from Kamala Nehru College, and recently, I think everyone must have heard about it, a girl named Deepthi died in an accident. She was crossing the road and she was going to the metro station.
The sports player.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
She got hit by a car and then she got run over by another car. So I think the red lights and everything.
Friend?
She was from another department. I'm from English department, but we were there when it happened. So it's just that it's okay, it's red lights and everything, but what about the roads in front of colleges? There are no traffic rules there. People don't stop for you to cross, and they're in so much hurry that you're getting late for class, it's fine, you can wait. But people won't stop for you to cross. So that always does cause these accidents.
Okay, yeah.
I would like to second what she said. I'm from LSR college and there's the same issue in the road in front of LSR. But I think the real issue lies in licensing things, like how many people get their licenses by bribing the officials. I think giving the license should be made strict, and that's where the real issue lies.
Okay, so that's where KK Kapila, I want you to come in over here, because when I read the draft, one interesting thing that we noticed was it talks a lot about the fact that, you know, now licenses will only be given if you're a first time, that you should have had the learner's license at least for 9 months. Have you gone through it? Does that seem like stringent to you?
Yes, it should be. It is there, and I personally feel that as far as such locations are concerned, the colleges are concerned, the schools are concerned, we should try to provide either an underpass or provide an escalator and an overpass. You see, so you have to have an appropriate arrangement for crossing of roads, particularly in places where there is a large number of people who cross, because the moving traffic does not have the tendency to stop. And unless we make adequate provisions for crossing the road, this problem is likely to continue.
But Sunita Narayan doesn't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with the underpass and the escalator, because all over the world it's been agreed that on-grade crossing is what is required. Outside Gargi College or LSR or any other place, on Aurobindo Marg, they're making rotaries right now without providing for crossing of the road. I think, let's be clear, Sunitra, this is one thing in this draft which I think the licensing part is actually good in the draft, in my view.
Because there are lots of provisions.
There is provision. They've also provided for a unified licensing authority, which means that today you will be able to have one license, I think, across India the way they're looking at it. If they can actually make that work, I think that definitely will help to tighten. Today we have a huge amount of problem where you have people who are driving in from other parts of India, holding different licenses.
No, in fact, talking about licenses, I think they were all telling me before who had to go through a really tough test to get their license. Because didn't most people just easily get it? Who was saying that they could easily get a license?
I just passed, I go through a test and there I passed the test and then I got my license.
But other people get it much easier, right?
Yeah,
No,
they just
Sorry?
appeared for the initial test. After that, I've got the learner's license, but now I'll go back to my state and apply for go for another test, and then I get my proper license.
So it's still, you're saying that it's still tough to get it?
Yeah, you have to appear for me, I have still to appear for one more test.
But Anil Shukla, is that the case for majority of the people, isn't it?
I don't think, maybe in certain authorities. So I think we find people carrying sometimes multiple licenses from various authorities. This bill will actually ensure, if it's implemented in the way that the pre-license education is important. As we were discussing that, there is in other developed countries, you celebrate when you obtain a license, right? But because she's talking about going again. I think they go 5 times, maybe 10 times to obtain a license. Because unless and until you know the rules and regulation, most of them do not know even what are the mandatory cautionary road signs. So I think there is an essential need for unification and pre-license education, making the licensing regime stricter.
When your people are checking on the roads, what kind of licensing issues do you come across?
I think sometimes the truck drivers would be carrying a license issued from say Mathura or Agra, and maybe multiple of them. So it is possible that they may not have obtained it through a rigorous test, which we feel
Most
should be the case.
Sunitra, I want to take forward the second issue, which I think licensing, as we are saying, is critical and obviously somewhat addressed. But what this bill does not address is the issue that even Mr. Kapila raised, which is the rights of pedestrians, the rights of cyclists. I mean, the point is that if you cannot cross the road, you cannot take a bus. And I don't think adequately, the bill definitely increases the ambit from motor vehicles to road users, but it doesn't make it mandatory for agencies to provide for road design in a way that the right for walking is mandatory.
So pavement building is not there
at all. If you look at it, what they've done in their summary, they say that's subnational. So what they're essentially arguing in the bill is that's up to city governments. But I don't think that's adequate. I think if you have a Motor Vehicles Act or a Road Users Act, you need to build in certain provisions which are non-negotiable. For instance, the right to walk and pavements have to be non-negotiable.
Okay, so that could be a big answer, major answer to what the problems you were bringing up. Yeah, you wanted to talk about what happened with your friend?
Yeah, actually not my friend but my sir. He was going to visit to his relatives, and it was 8th of December, a few years before, and he met with an accident, and the cause of his accident was the reckless driving being done by the truck driver, which has nowadays become a usual thing. And the accident was so bad that he died on spot, and he was hardly 25 or 26 years of age.